Hey everybody, this is Dust for Listed on Gaming. Just a friendly reminder, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you're an OG, as Space Marine likes to put it, please consider supporting our Patreon page. And if you like what you're seeing, please hit that like button. So, today we're continuing our 100 Treasure Chest Challenge in Modern. Right now we're currently up to 27 of 100. 8 days to go to hit the 100 goal. I think we're going to have to extend it into November, which kind of sucks, but, you know, that's life. So far we're 1-0 in this league. It was an off-camera match against Blue White Control. If anyone's interested in seeing that, feel free to let me know either now or later. Maybe I'll do the replay, maybe I'll do it at the end of the stream if there is time. Otherwise we're going to hop into some matches. I like doing the replays. Some people like seeing the replays, other people are just like, well, we see the results and there's no reason to watch. So kind of up in the air whether it's good or not. I just had time to play like one match off stream, so. And it's pretty reasonable. Birdmere. Pseudo Burnmere. This might be 12 bolt. Feels like this might be 12 bolt. Bolt or Hazaret, I'm not sure which. I'll just probably block here. Yeah, I know. They'll probably... Nope, they didn't block. Okay, cool. Yeah, this definitely looks like 12 bolt, though. No blocks again. Alright. Agreed. No, maybe this is just like doesn't really matter. Whatever spell they're going to have here would kill one of our Swift Spears anyway. I guess they could potentially have, yeah, Wizard Lightning, kind of annoying, but also whatever here. I feel with the Lightning Helix and such, will probably be ahead here. Alright, well, looks like we're gonna have to kill some creatures this turn. Looks like this is just a creature heavy build. Hopefully we draw like a land here in the next turn or two. Still a lot of creatures, man. Definitely does seem that way, doesn't it? I guess I could use Blaze here, but I just feel like we want to gain some life. Feels like whatever their last card in hand is, it isn't relevant. Yep. I'm not really sure what it is for sure. Yeah, it looks like 12 bolt. That faithless looting generally indicates that explains why they left the land in their hand. Because that's almost assuredly what that was. Yep. 2 lands. Agreed. So now they have to debate how many creatures to leave back here. It's too bad we don't have Lava Spike, huh? Guess we just Lava Spike. Lava Spike, put them to 1 here. Force them to chump block the Swift Spear. Get to see their next card's Flame of Keld, which isn't going to do them a whole lot of good. Yep. Alright. Well, we know our opponent's got a lot of creatures. They can't board them all out, so we definitely want the Searing Bloods. Beyond that, maybe the Lavamancers. Just probably board out the Skullcracks. Is it possible we want Path to Exile? Maybe we want the pass over the Lava Spikes here. Yeah, 1 lander, huh? Guess we try it. We're in a bad spot. Don't think we play Lavamancer here. I think we just hold up Bolt. Alright, so they kept a 1 land or 2. So I'm gonna go ahead and bolt one of these. We draw a land like a professional. Don't really want to fetch Shock here, but I think we just go ahead, do this, Searing Blaze this. Yeah, that said, if they hit a land drop here, or then their deck is a little more, their deck's a little more 1-drop heavy, so, I guess I go for Goblin Guide here. I'm not really sure. Okay, so they're not going to draw another land. That's good. Their deck is more vulnerable to a lot of things. Their deck's more vulnerable to creature removal. Their deck's more vulnerable to Flood and Screw, because they generally run fewer actual lands. So now we get to go Helix that. Yeah, they have some ways of mitigating slash... I'm not running a Lavamancer out here because I don't want to get lightning bolted, pretty much. That's almost what they're obligated to do here. No, this is just getting bolted. They'll see a Faithless Looting next turn. Alright, and... Oh, hoo, hoo. Yeah. So I don't like that deck. It tends to have a lot of those very random nonsensical draws. So much gas, no fuel to do it. I mean, that said, they weren't dead quite yet. Yeah, the deck can play Blood Moon, sort of. I don't really think playing a 3-mana enchantment's too big of an incentive to play that in a mono red burn deck. I guess we keep his hand. It is a little risky, though. Say that about a lot of these one land hands, don't I? Oh, I won't complain how I'm screwed. I know if I keep a hand like this, that's the risk of... that's the risk of the game. Looks like we're up against Jun, perhaps? Yep, now we can get punished for not hitting our land drops. Presuming this is going to get fatal pushed or something. Yep. It's your friend Bob. Yep, now my opponent gets their choice of wonderful spells here. Oh, they have an Inquisition too. Which one? Probably take Riftbolt here. Yeah, this is the sort of hand that if you hit your second and third land drops, the game's almost unlosable. But if you miss, you're pretty much guaranteed to lose. It's either Jund or black-red. Most likely Jund, but could be black-red. It's Jund. Hmm. Alright. And Jund's not exactly the most favorable. Sure, go right ahead. Jund's not exactly the most favorable matchup to begin with, so losing game one's kind of a little bit rough. His hand's okay, but not great against Jund. As opposed to what? The problem with burn specifically is you have to have this play gets punished if they have exactly Collective Brutality. It's personal preference. I prefer to not get stuck on one-landers. Collective Brutality? Yep, definitely a Collective Brutality. This is more like watch Burn get its butt kick time. This is why Jund's kind of a tough matchup. Especially if they Liliana us here, which they're probably going to. Okay, no Liliana. Or just going Treetop Village beatdown time. Alright, sure. Bloodbird Elf? Yeah, it feels like a Bloodbird Elf. Into Scavenging Ooze. Cool. It's pretty much no outs at this point. tips against Amulet Titan. Let me guess, it involved a lot of Radiant Fountains? Yes, I know I missed a chance with Skullcrack to prevent them gaining 1 life, but at that point, we're pretty much drawing dead. The only way to play around that was to not play the Eidolon, which might have saved us a little bit, but Amulet Titan's a little bit of a rough of a matchup. Your best draws involve usually having 1 or 2 creatures, like one of your Swift Spears or Goblin Guides, and then trying to hold up. Oh, Hive Mind, there's nothing you can do against Hive Mind. If they're running Hive Mind, you just gotta kill them before they can kill you. Against Radiant Fountain, your best thing to do is to try to get, you know, like a Swift Spear or a Goblin Guide down and try to hold up any copies of Skullcrack you might have. I've beaten it, but it certainly can be a rough matchup. This hand's okay, but not great. Yeah. Guessing that involved a double amulet draw. It's usually how those ones go. So we have 13 points of burn in hand. It can be very hard for burn to win without creatures. Did he Temur Battle Rage it, or did he Boros Garrison it? Was it the double strike land or actual physical Temur Battle Rage? Blue-white control and then 12 bolt. Boros Garrison. Yeah, he must have had 2 copies of must have had 2 amulets in play to pull that off. Could be Tron mulliganing to 5. Beyond that, it's kind of hard to say. I'm doing this specifically because they mulligan. This could be Devoted Company, and I might regret that decision. Well, it's definitely a Collected Company deck. Beyond that, we don't know which one. Probably Counters Company. Could just be Value Town, too. Drawn 1 too many lands. Oh, it's Spirits. Alright. Spirits with no blue mana. Interesting. Pretty good one. See if we can bait them into using collected company here. Yep, glad we didn't play a spell main phase though, because I would have walked headfirst into a spell queller. Maybe. Sure. Get to block my Goblin Guide. It's unfortunate we have to go through all the rigmarole. Like if it was paper, I'd just show them that I have the Lava Spike and the game was over, but, you know, whatever. Get these Path to Exiles, get these cards. Not interested in Eidolon here, because some of these versions run Ether Vial, and I'm just not a huge fan of Eidolon against decks that could run Ether Vial. Get Lava Spike out of there. Yeah, this hand's fine against their deck. If we draw a 1-drop on turn 1, that'd be ideal. Don't think I'm supposed to kill the Noble Hierarch here. As much as it accelerates their mana, I think I'm just going to wait and... Feels like a spell queller. It looks like a spell queller and smells like a spell queller. Let's go ahead and draw that spell queller out here, shall we? Yeah, spell queller. Just let that go. Interesting. In that case, I take no game actions. I just play my land and pass. And if they crack their fetch land, then I kill their Noble Hierarch. Yep. Poor choice, opponent. Poor choice. Yeah, they probably have Spell Queller in hand, and they were probably getting ready to play it. Or, I guess they didn't float a mana, so maybe they don't. Maybe we were giving them too much respect. I just can't get no respect. The awkward main phase Drog Skull Captain. I think I hold up Skullcrack just in case. You never know what they've got over there. Okay. They don't usually run much. They might run like Blessed Alliance or something along those lines. Ironically, they can't Blessed Alliance us here, so, you know. I think I just pass, continuing to hold up Skullcrack here. Go ahead and bait you with a Skullcrack. If you want to play a Spell Queller, that's fine. Looks like the answer is no. Looks like the answer is we play Riftbolt. Play a spell, you're dead. Your Thalia just isn't going to be fast enough here. Ramen up only if I was running red, like mono red, and Horizon Canopy, dear lord, no. Alright, 3-1, going for the 4-1. I hate Thalia. Yeah, Thalia can be a tricky card to play around. What's up, James? How you doing today? Because half the people in chat right now, Janshavik, are burn players, therefore they hate the card Thalia. Because for a deck that runs on such thin margins, burn can have a hard time with the card Thalia. It's another one of those hands, right? Like, oh... We have played against this person before. Why do I recognize that name? history. Not quite sure. For some reason I recognize that name, but I don't know. Sorry, I'm going to look something up here. Poderosimo deck results. G Goldfish. Gonna say I knew I'd played against this player before. Yeah, I think against last known deck was Death Shadow, but that was 2 months ago. So does look like their deck's still Death Shadow. Stands okay against Death Shadow, not great. Probably losing one of our 1-drops here. I guess Goblin Guide. This also is a reasonable matchup, but does require us to actually draw. Does require us to draw a second land in the next 2 draw steps. Okay, take Goblin Guide, sure. Ding. Hand is unlocked. They are a Death Shadow deck, so we do have to keep that in mind. At least he's likely to be on Death Shadow. Could be on something else. Oh, looks like we're on Jund. It's gonna be a rough one. See if we're getting Fatal pushed here. Probably not. Not too much now that they play Bloodbraid Elf. Huntmaster's a better mid-game card, Bloodbraid Elf's a better aggressive card, and generally in Modern, the more aggressive you are, the better. There are very few decks that want to play more than 6, 7, 8 turns. Even Jund generally doesn't want to play more than 7 or 8 turns in a game. Yeah, I was just thinking of that too. Guess we have no reason to main phase anything here. Alright, so a little bit easier playing against Jund. Being on the draw, well, not being on the draw, but being... Should I leave in Searing Blazes here? We'll try leaving in Searing Blazes. Jund's the one matchup I don't have a fantastic feel on like what's the right sideboarding plan for it. Like, it's a matchup I've played quite a bit, but not one that's been easy, put it that way. Sand seems fine, but then again, everything seems fine against Jund until they thought seize you. I mean, we're keeping the hand, it's just kind of how badly do they tear it apart here. Probably gonna die to a push or a bolt. For that reason, maybe I should have played Swift Spear here. Yep, here comes the Fatal Push. Revealing. Looks like an auto pass. Scavenging Ooze is a little rough. Hopefully we draw land here. Rest in Peace has some application, but they have a lot of other threats that are good too. No, it's definitely a reasonable consideration. The problem is for every card you're putting in your deck that's not either dealing damage to your opponent or interacting with their creatures is dubious. Like, Jund can win with Tireless Tracker and Bloodbraid Elf just as easily as they can Scavenging Ooze and Tarmogoyf. So, it's like, alright, please draw. Sweet. Now we get to go. Kalitas. Alright, well. Let's go and grab this. Suspend that. Alright, and our opponent scooped. Well, I don't know if Silver Bullet's the right term, but it's either got to answer a problem or further your game plan. They may not have had another, I don't know. Who knows? Let's evaluate what we do know. They may not have had a... They know Kalitas is their top card. They may not have had double black. And their hand might not have lined up well enough against what was going on here. Yeah, they probably didn't have another land or double black, one of the two. So, and even Fetch Shocking going to 8 against 2 unknown cards. There are any number of possibilities there. Whichever way, they didn't have access to a fourth untapped, either fourth untapped land or a second black source for Nice to get on the scoreboard against Jund, though. It's where matchups like Jund and humans can feel really weird because of situations like that in particular. So, another 4-1. My kind of a greedy keep against Jund here was a little bit of an issue, but yeah, sometimes you have to take that risk with burn. So yeah, even Fetch Shock, they might have been able to take the risk to go to 7 and then 4, but then there's several combinational cards that kill them. I don't know. Some people scoop too fast, some people scoop too slowly. You know. Back to your statement though, Bradley. I've brought in Rest in Peace against Jund before, and it's been okay. Like, the decks I would want to bring in Rest in Peace against Jund are mid-range decks that are looking to play a little bit of a longer game, that it shuts down a good portion of Jund. Like, when I was playing Ban Eldrazi, back when Ban Eldrazi was a thing, I'd bring in Rest in Peace against Jund to shut down the Tarmogoyfs and such, because that was one of their ways to kind of get us a little bit. But again, with Burn, I don't think it's correct, especially since I have the Path to Exiles in my sideboard. Because generally, the only cards I want to bring in against Black-Green X mid-range decks are Paths, usually, just to get their creatures out of the way, and A, it slows down their clock, B, it gets blockers out of the way if we happen to have creatures in play. So, alright, that said, we're up to 31 treasure chests now. Updated record 34 and 11. Game records 35, 75, and 37. Matches of note. Dredge we're 2-0 against, but the matches have been close. Storm we're 3-0 against. Tron we're 3-0 against. Blue-White we're 2-0 against. Burn Mirror, including 12 Bolt, we're 2-1 against. Bant Spirits we're 2-0, 4-0 against. Jund we're 1-2 with a 2-4 game record. So that's kind of where things stand with this right now. So we're through, okay, that's 45. We're through 9 leagues. So, of the top tier decks, yeah, probably. But you can certainly lose the Tron matchup. I've lost to it. It's probably close to 70-30. Like, Game 1, you're almost an overwhelming favorite. And then Game 2 and Game 3, they have a lot of tools. So, like, the Game 1s you lose involve, like, hands where you have, like, a bunch of burn spells and they're able to land, like, a turn 3 Worm Coil Engine or turn 3 Karn, take away your lands. E-Tron's pretty rough. Of the 3 Tron variants, it's probably the closest matchup. Depending on the build, it's either even or slightly favorable for them. Chalice of the Void's a problem, and they have draws that can beat us without Chalice of the Void. Like, for instance, turn 2 Matter Shaper, turn 3 Thought Not Seer. So they have a lot of draws that can beat us, but against the field, Eldrazi Tron's a lot worse. So, you know, of the matchups that see play, Blue Tron, get out of here, Jan. Not literally, but Blue Tron can beat us, but it's much like Green Tron. It's a winnable matchup. Alright, so kind of wrap up today's video. Humans is a close matchup, depending on their sideboard configuration. They could have good game, especially if they have Auriok Champion and Phantasmal Images to copy them. Jun's a little rough. I think it's even to slightly in their favor. Dredge is closer than it was now that they have Creeping Chill, but I still think Burn's favored. Unless they're packing Gnaw to the Bone in their sideboard. Bant Spirits feels slightly favorable for Burn. Blue-White Control depends on their build, but generally speaking, Burn's pretty favored. Tron, we're decently favored. Jeskai is a close matchup. Personally, I think Burn has the edge, but once again, depends on how badly the Jeskai player wants to beat Burn. If the Jeskai player wants to beat Burn, they'll beat Burn. Grixis Death Shadow, probably decently in Burn's favor. They do have tools to beat us, but eh. Hollow One is close, maybe slightly unfavorable. Storm's pretty favorable, as long as you understand how you roll in the matchup. Hardened Scales, haven't played against it enough. Gotten steamrolled by it a couple times, beat it once. Amulet Titan depends on their draws. Pyromancer, close matchup, I think Burn's slightly favored. Blue Moon depends on if they have Thing in the Ice in the deck. If they have Thing in the Ice, it's a pain in the hind end. Grixis haven't played against enough. Ad Nauseam, miserable matchup. Hexproof, miserable matchup. KCI, close matchup. It's kind of a race. Rock is even better positioned against it than Jund because they have a less painful mana base. So I would say Rock's slightly favored. Titan Shift's a race, we're usually ahead. Dredgevine depends on their draws. If they have their nut draws, we're more consistent, they're faster. So if they get their good draws 2 out of 3 games, we probably lose. Eldrazi Tron, slightly unfavorable for Burn. Green-White Company, if it's Value Town Company, it's slightly favorable for Burn. If it's Counters Company, it's slightly favorable for Burn. Infect, close matchup. Don't have enough data on the newest builds of them. Affinity's close. Azorius Spirits, closer than Bant, but probably still slightly favorable for Burn, depending on their sideboard configuration. Traverse Shadow is somewhere between Grixis Death Shadow and Jund, so it can be a closest matchup. And it's about as far down the line as I'm going to go. If anybody has any specific questions, it can be in those situations, but very rarely will good KCI. Yeah, that's why I said I think Rock is slightly more favored than even Jund, because they have a lot of the same good tools against Burn, but they also have an even less painful mana base. KCI, I haven't played it against it enough to know for sure, but I do know that good KCI players usually main phase their stuff. So, like either Nature's Claims or Engineered Explosives, they almost always main phase it or end of turn it before the turn before they're going to go off. So that matchup's a race. It's pretty draw dependent. I have not played KCI ever, and I've only played against it a couple of times, and the few opponents that I played against KCI with were in PPTQs, and they were very good with her deck. So it was definitely draw dependent. It's one of the decks that I would have to learn to know. Because it didn't have the tools, it lacks certain tools to beat certain things. The red gives you access to Bolt, which gives you more reach. White gave you access to Lingering Souls. So it wasn't until very recently with Assassin's Trophy and Tireless Tracker that there was a reason to just stick to green-black. However, War Dog would be the person to talk to about Green Black Rock. So War Dog would definitely be the person to talk to about rock decks. So if you ever have a question about rock-based decks, yeah, plus it didn't have Fatal Push. So very recent things made rock a lot more viable, as opposed to John Durabzan. Because then you don't have to splash for Lightning Bolt or Path to Exile, usually. Okie dokie. Anybody else have any more questions or anything tonight? Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up and... Blue Splash? No, most of the Sultai decks are pretty terrible. Am I a penguin? No. Sorry. Anyways, apologies to Mr. Cobblepot for that terrible imitation. I have a penguin friend. Ah ha ha. Anyways, if it walks like a penguin, then it's a penguin. Alright, y'all. Y'all have a good evening. Hope you enjoyed the playthrough. Tomorrow night, I will be streaming Sunburn, but I'll probably also be streaming Golgari. So, Golgari Standard, because I'm still trying to somewhat prep for a PPTQ, so. I don't think you want to plan for floods. Honestly, if you're going to go that route, War Dog, I would run either, if you're trying to mitigate flood, I'd run either Flame of Keld or Risk Factor before I'd touch Ramanat Ruins. Like, honestly, if you're that worried about flood, I'd run Risk Factor before I'd run Ramanat Ruins. Because if you're playing a land just to plan for flooding out to 5 lands, that's pretty sketch. I'd rather play a card that I'm either dealing 4 damage or drawing 3 cards for a land than playing Ramanat Ruins. Spiritmonger is legal, and it doesn't see play. Spiritmonger was time shifted, I believe. Was it? I thought it was time shifted. Maybe I am wrong. I could be wrong here. I thought it was time shifted. Maybe it wasn't. Nothing. I thought it was in Time Spiral, but I guess it wasn't. Sorry. I apologize. I have not tried it yet. I would probably do it when I'm a little less, when I have a little more free time on my hands. It's only legal in Legacy, Vintage, and Commander. I apologize. It was not reprinted in Time Spiral. So, Jim, what card would you want to test it? Like what matchups would you want to try it against? Control matchups? If you were to want to try it in control matchups in my current list, I'd probably cut the Exquisitive Firecrafts in the sideboard and try it there if you're interested in it against control. That would be my best advice. Because like the main decks of a lot of these burn decks are pretty tight. So, like what version of burn do you run? Do you run mono red? Do you run Boros? Do you run the green splash? Do you run True Naya? Because it depends on which card. If you're in a meta that doesn't require Skullcrack, it could go in the Skullcrack slot. Rakdos, I could see it. I could see it having more of a place in Rakdos because of if your meta's heavy control, I could see running some amount of that over Riftbolt. What singleton do you throw in the empty spot? What guild do I associate with? Orzhov, probably. I don't follow what you mean, Bradley. Are you talking about what do you throw in that, like, one extra spot? Grim Lavamancer, maybe? Either a Lavamancer or, like, cut one of the other 4-ofs and run a 2-of. Like, maybe cut a Skullcrack or a Searing Blaze or a Riftbolt for, like, 2 risk factors or, that kind of stuff. Of those two, I'd play Shard Volley. But I'm not a fan of either card. Honestly, I'd probably, if you were to run 19 lands, I would cut the Shard Volley and run like a 1-of Grim Lavamancer if creatures are heavy in your meta. If you're not, I'd try maybe a 1-of either Risk Factor or Flames of the Bloodhand. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad, War Dog. I'm just saying if he was he said he was considering cutting it. I'm just saying I could see it being reasonable against control. I wouldn't be in a hurry to drop $10 on Risk Factor, because Risk Factor is going to come down eventually. It's seeing play in Standard right now, so just wait a month or two and it'll drop to like $6. Unless the only reason it'll go up is if it, like, the red deck really takes off at the Pro Tour. Other than that, I don't see Risk Factor staying at $10. It sees a lot of play in, like, the Standard Is It and mono red decks. That's why. Yeah, Jim, if you actually test it, if any of you guys actually test Risk Factor, let me know how it goes. I haven't had the time yet, because I'm trying to grind pretty seriously with the build that I'm, like, pretty set on. So, if any of you guys test Risk Factor, let me know, see how it goes. Alright everybody, I apologize, but I need to get going. It's about dinner time here, and I got some light homework to work on, so hope everybody has a great day. We'll be streaming tomorrow night. Tonight was 4-1. Actually 3-1 on stream and 1-0 on a match that was off stream. We played against Burn, Jund twice, played against Blue Eye Control, 12 Bolt Red, 2 Jund decks, and Bant Spirits. Our loss was to one of the Jund decks. So, in the overall record so far for this challenge is 34-11, with game record of 75-37. So, that's how things ended up so far. I'll be back tomorrow night at 7. I'll be streaming some Golgari Standard first, and then about 8:15, 8:30, I'll be switching over to Burn. So if you guys want to know specifically when Burn's going to be streaming, it'll be about 8:15, 8:30 tomorrow night, Eastern Standard Time. So plus or minus hours based on where you are. Like Janshavik, you're like 6 or 7 hours ahead, so good luck trying to do that math. Alright. Everybody else, have a good night. War Dog, Jim, Bradley, Jim, James. I think that covers about everybody. It's been in chat now. So, alright. I hope everybody has a great evening. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Dusk for Dusted on Gaming.